be honest with them, because they're going to know it's the end either way.
I actually talked about this, I think it was on my Saturday show. And I was going back and forth with a young brother about the economy. And I was saying that half of all workers make less than $33,000. And that was the median. Which kind of dovetails with the video I just did about automation coming in. And that total is probably going to get worse because we're going to have a lot of workers that don't make any money. But that being said, goodbye middle class. 50% of American workers make less than $33,000 a year. The truth is that most American families are deeply struggling, but you hardly ever hear this from mainstream media. Yes, about 10% of all workers are making $100,000 or more a year, but most of those high-paying jobs are concentrated in the major cities along the East and West Coast. I know that because I live in Los Angeles, see it all the time. For much of the rest of the country, these are very challenging times as the cost of living soars, but their paychecks do not. Hello, stagflation. According to the Social Security Administration, the median income in the United States last year was just $32,838. In other words, 50% of American workers made more than $32,838, and 50% of American workers made less than $32,838. In 2018. Let's be generous and round that number up to 33,000. And when you break it down on a monthly basis, that comes to just $2,750 a month. Of course, nobody can support a middle-class lifestyle for a family of four on $2,750 a month before taxes. And so most families, more than one person is working these days. In fact, in many families, more than one person is working multiple jobs in a desperate attempt to make ends meet, and it's still often not quite enough. If you want to look at Social Security wages statistics for yourself, you can find them right here. As you see, I am not making these numbers up. These days, many would have us feel bad if we are not making at least $100,000 a year, but according to the report, only about 10% of all American workers make that much money. Instead, most Americans are in what I would call the barely getting by category. Here are some key factors that I pulled out of the report. 33% of all American workers made less than $20,000 a year. Let me say that again. 33%, a third, of all American workers made less than $20,000 a year. 46% of all American workers made less than $30,000 a year. 58% of all American workers made less than $40,000 a year. 67% of all American workers made less than $50,000 a year. That's all workers. We're not talking about black. Now, we know black people make about 20% less than average. So we want to talk about black men, subtract 20% of that total. So say like the median for all workers is 33,000 or thereabout. You subtract 37,000 from that, 33,000, and what do you get? You get about $25,000 a year. So the median black male worker probably makes around $25,000 a year, which is just a little bit above where the figure that we put for them about, what was it, 2014? And those are the ones that make money. That means approximately 2/3 of all American workers are making $4,000 or less a month before taxes. Ouch. That's before taxes, folks. But these numbers help us to understand why survey after survey has shown that most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. After paying bills, there just isn't enough money left for us, left for most of us. And for an increasing number of Americans, even paying bills has become exceedingly difficult. In fact, a brand new report from UBS says 40% of all U.S. consumers don't make enough money to cover their expenses. Low-income consumers are struggling to make ends meet despite the greatest economy ever. And if a recession strikes or the unemployment cycle continues to decelerate, this could mean the average American with insurmountable debts will likely fall behind on their debt servicing payments, according to a UBS report first reported by Bloomberg. It's already happening. UBS and analyst Matthew Mish wrote in a recent report that 44% of consumers don't make enough money to cover their expenses. 44%. That means about half the country is flat broke and struggling to survive financially. Of course, those at the top of the economic food chain often don't have a lot of sympathy for those that are hurting. Many of them have the attitude that those that are struggling should just go out and get one of the good jobs that mainstream media is initially touting. But most jobs in the United States are not good jobs. Today, the poverty level for a household of four in the United States is $25,750. More than 40% of workers in this country make less than that each year. Starting a business is always an option, but that takes money, and thanks to government regulation, it is harder than ever to run a small business successfully. Just look at what is happening to our dairy farmers. There are few occupations that are more quintessentially American than being a dairy farmer. And since most people drink milk and eat cheese, you would think that it would be a pretty safe profession. But instead, dairy farmers are shutting down at a pace that is absolutely chilling all over the nation. For example, just check out what is going on in Wisconsin. Wisconsin lost another 42 dairy farms in July. Wow. And since January has lost 491 farms. My goodness. Reports the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. It's what you call a trade war, folks. At this rate, the dairy state could lose 735 farms this year, which would be a decline of 9%. In 2018, the state lost 691 farms at a rate of decline of 7.9%. Over the last decade, the state has lost more than 5,000 farms, or 40% of its licensed dairy farms. To state the obvious, the current rate of exits is more than double of the last decade. So why is this happening? Government. In profession after profession, government control freaks have made it nearly impossible to make a living, and this has pushed the percentage of Americans that are self-employed to historic lows. If you are struggling right now, I want you to know that you are not alone. There are tens of millions of other Americans that are really hurting in this economy, and the bad news is that the economic conditions will soon get a lot worse. Where have you heard this before? But you can make it through whatever is ahead. You just have to keep believing. A lot of people accuse me of spreading doom and gloom, but that is not true at all. There is hope in understanding what is happening, and there is hope in getting prepared for hard times that are ahead. Getting prepared for the hard times that are ahead. When you take steps to prepare, you are telling yourself and everyone around you that you believe that you can make it through the storm that is coming. Or you could just have blind faith in the system, even though it is exceedingly obvious that the system is crumbling all around us. Those that are blindly trusting in the system to take care of them are building their dreams on a foundation of sand. And when the waves come crashing in, those dreams are going to get washed away very quickly. That's from the Economic Collapse blog. Where have you heard this before? Been telling you guys that for about 5 years. And I don't know how to express this to you any clearer. Oh, it's happening, sweetheart. And this is before automation is really kicking in. Automation is just starting to kick in. And this is already happening in an economy that's supposed to be booming. But you got a trade war going on. You got banks that are freezing up. You have a monetary crisis all over the planet. You have an economic slowdown where people aren't buying. And I get capitalists all around me telling me to look ahead. Okay, I'm good with it. You are going to have to be a survivor. You are going to have to start scrapping. And it's not because you want to floss or that you want to live a good life. You know, that's part of it. Some of this you're going to have to get in gear just to survive. You're going to have to up your skills. You're going to have to do what Kevin says. You might have to work 60 hours a week. You may have to work 70. Some people already are. But you're going to have to stop being a drone. You're going to have to start using your head. You're going to have to start looking for opportunities because it's going to be necessary. I got 3 millennials, and they don't believe that hard times are coming because they never had to live through them. How do you explain something to young folks that have had basically smooth sailing for most of their lives? And the little bumps and hiccups that they get, they think these are devastating. They think they're in a toilet because they have student loans. They have pumped the credit card as far as they can. And those bills are going to come due. And they just are. And I said years ago when Trump first came in, I said the only way he can do this thing and bring jobs back into the country, supposedly jobs back into the country, I said he would. He's going to bring jobs back in the country. You just won't be doing them. Robots are infinitely cheaper. AI software is infinitely cheaper than people. AIs don't need air conditioning. AIs do not need a building space. They don't need a desk. They don't need a phone. They don't need health insurance. They don't need to take lunch breaks. They don't need a cafeteria. What do you think all these people are striking for? Those teachers in Chicago are not just striking because of the workload. They're striking because they see the automation coming in. My grandson spends at least an hour a day on a computer working with artificial intelligence software that the school is slowly implementing. Teachers see this stuff coming. People see this stuff coming. They've already gone at the men as far as robots are concerned. There aren't that many jobs left where, I should say manufacturing jobs, to where men are actually doing inside these warehouses and factories. The only place left for automation for them to save money is the service sector, which is the biggest part of the economy. Your insurance billing, your medical billing, your all the soft jobs that you see in hospitals and in medical, they're coming for that. They're going to come for that in 2020. Trust and believe. They're already doing it. We already hear the rumblings. All your call centers are going to be downsized. A lot of your retail, I keep hearing about retail stores closing. One of my sub-artisans was walking through the mall. Store after store after store was just gone. And this is not just here, this is global. So when people come on and tell me about this fantastic economy that Black folks need to insert themselves into, I agree that Black folks have to get themselves into the economy. I agree that Black folks have got to get serious about making money. But I don't want you to keep blowing smoke up Black folks' asses, okay? Be real with them. You walk in and you be honest, because they're going to know it's the end either way. There is no middle class anymore. It's gone. The middle class has now become the working poor. And I've been telling Black women for years, if you find a guy making $50,000 a year, you better kiss him and hold on to him. Because the competition is about to get fierce for those $50,000 a year earners. All of them. And only 20% of Black men make more than $50,000 a year. That is what it is. The median wage, the average wage for a Black man is $40,000 a year? The median wage, the top 20% of black men make $53,000 a year. The top 10% of black men make a little over $75,000 a year. That's top 10%. In the rarefied air of the top 5% of black men, that's the six figures. Let's get real, people. Get real with the men, get real with the women. Women should already see this. Should be already be apparent. Because I was listening to Rollo Tomasi earlier today, and basically he's all but saying that white men have lost control of their women. And they're slowly sliding down to where black men and women already are. So what has been our reality for basically since we got here on this soil is becoming a reality for white people, as the patriarchy that we despise amongst white men is all but dead. And once this economic decline actually hits in full force, you can stick a fork in the patriarchy, or what's left of it. But anyway, that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.